Today, Today I want to talk about Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit released in theaters about 3 months ago, October 18th in the US. So you might be asking yourself, Caleb, whale off. Why are you reviewing a movie that came out last October? Well, here's why. Jojo Rabbit is nominated for 6 Academy Awards, and since the Oscars are this Sunday, I figured, hey, why not review one of my favorite movies of 2019? If you've been subscribed to the channel, you know I don't usually do movie reviews, but I also figured that if I'm gonna do a movie review, it'll be the one that I can recommend to everyone. And Jojo Rabbit is that kind of movie. Jojo Rabbit is an entertaining, funny, quirky comedy filled with drama, tragedy, entertainment, action. I was really blown away by it. When I went and saw it in theaters, I had zero expectations for the movie. I thought it had an awesome trailer.
You boys will be involved in such activities as war games, ambush techniques, and blowing stuff up.
I don't think I can do this.
Was? Of course you can.
That I think was trending on YouTube top 10 when it came out. I also went in with low expectations because the topic is really kind of sensitive, and I was like, if they're gonna do it justice, it might be good, or if they misstep even a little bit, it's gonna be really bad. If you don't know what the plot is, I'll kind of give you a run through. Jojo Rabbit follows a 10-year-old boy named Johannes Betzler, otherwise known and referred to in the movie as Jojo Rabbit, living in Nazi Germany during World War II. Jojo is indoctrinated into the Hitler Youth. Now, if you don't know what the Hitler Youth is, it was essentially Adolf Hitler's army of children to fight for him during the war, just to put it extremely broad strokes. Looking back, it's a very scary thing, but the movie takes place in that world where Jojo is indoctrinated and essentially is at least trying to be the best Nazi he can be. Jojo is deeply influenced by the propaganda released by the party, and being a young boy kind of enamored with his ideals, radicalized by the propaganda of the Nazi party, and he's trying to do his duty to his country. His dad's fighting off in the war. It's kind of a weird direction the movie takes in, but it really is important for it. So as weird as it's gonna sound, stick with me. Jojo has this imaginary friend who's kind of a buffoonish caricature of Adolf Hitler. Again, it's not meant to be the real Hitler, but it's kind of like in his imagination what his ideals are kind of embodied by is this kind of childish version of the dictator. His dad is fighting off in the war and he lives at home with his mother. However, his world is turned upside down when he finds out one day that his mother has been secretly housing a Jewish girl in essentially what is their attic or kind of a hideaway in the house.
They could look just like us. Hi. You know what I am? Say it. A Jew. Gesundheit.
So Jojo's kind of torn between his ideology and his love for his mother, who's played by Scarlett Johansson in this movie. So a couple things. Yes, it's a very unique premise, and usually movies that are this kind of quirky, even if weird, are not movies I'd recommend to everyone, but Jojo Rabbit is the exception. First and foremost, for this movie to be successful, I thought it had to walk a very fine line. Meaning, it's told from the point of view of a boy in the Hitler Youth, so that alone is just, most people don't even want to touch it. The fact that he has an imaginary friend who's essentially a buffoonish Adolf Hitler is also weird. But the movie does a really important job of kind of subverting Jojo's ideals through his interactions with this Jewish girl who's played by Thomasin McKenzie, Elsa. I'm not going to reveal anything that's not in the trailer. His interactions with this kind of scenario he's in really starts to kind of unravel and maybe challenge his ideals that he once had in the beginning.
You two seem to be getting on well.
She doesn't seem like a bad person.
I think the most important thing to note if you're kind of iffy about just the premise of the movie is that it's an anti-hate satire. That's what it was marketed as. What's the definition of satire?
Satire means the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues.
Thank you, Terry. That's the most important thing to note. It's told from the point of view of essentially the Nazis. I mean, obviously you can infer that the mother is on the good guy's side as we would know them. It's told from the point of view of Jojo for that point. To be a satire, you kind of have to adopt the opposition's view. So this movie in no way is glorifying or trying to romanticize Nazi ideology. The person who wrote and directed this is named Taika Waititi. He also directed Thor Ragnarok. He himself is Jewish and he wanted to play with this idea to use satire to make fun and point out the stupidity of these ideologies that Jojo has.
I wish more of our young boys had your blind fanaticism.
Jojo Rabbit is all about mocking these ideologies through the use of humor. Stephen Merchant had a great quote about this.
Throughout the war itself, and sort of certainly a long time afterwards, Hitler was always satirized. I mean, you know, the way of attacking someone like that is in part through humor, because I think one of the things which undermines dictators is humor, because the one thing that they have in their armory is fear, right? And you're not scared of someone that you're laughing or mocking.
I don't want to so much talk about the way the movie was shot, because it was shot beautifully. The acting was amazing. I mean, specifically Scarlett Johansson got nominated for an Oscar for her role in Jojo Rabbit. I think it's one of the best roles I've ever seen her in. She plays Jojo's mom, and one of the biggest draws to the movie was just to watch her act in this role.
You're growing up too fast. 10-year-olds shouldn't be celebrating war and talking politics.
Everyone in there, Parks Thomas and McKenzie, Roman Griffin Davis, the boy who plays Jojo, everyone, Stephen Merchant, Taika Waititi, everyone in the cast did a phenomenal job. What I really want to review is kind of around the movie and the ideas it discusses. So in an interview, someone asked Taika Waititi, why did you film it from Jojo Rabbit's point of view, kind of his perspective? And something that he said that I thought was interesting was that in his perspective, a lot of times in the time of war, the adults kind of lose their minds and the kids are really at the whims of things they can't control. And in this movie, that's kind of what you see. As the audience, you only get as much information as Jojo gets, and a lot of times he's kind of put to task to do things that he can't really control. And so the movie kind of adopts that point of view, which makes it really entertaining because you're always kind of find out what's the next curve in the path, or what the next direction the movie's going to take. Another thing that Taika Waititi said in an interview was this idea that young kids were taught by the Hitler Youth to rebel against their parents. One of the first things they were taught was to reject the authority of their parents and obey the party and only listen to the Nazi ideal. And so this movie explores that as well. This might have been my favorite movie of 2019. Again, I walked into the theater and the first 10 minutes of the movie, it's kind of setting up the setting. Great word choice. Well. But when it's setting up the setting, there's a lot of, Nazi imagery, and Jojo's going around heiling people. I was looking around the theater at other people, and I was like, it just felt really weird seeing this on screen. But as the movie unfolds, it actually does a really intellectual, satirical job of making fun of the Nazi party and the ideals that it held. Multiple characters have really satisfying character arcs. The story of the movie flirts with comedy and different elements of drama, and I gotta say the ending, there was just something so articulate about the way that it just caps off the whole story that I love. What draws me most to a movie, I think, is when a movie has heart. I gotta say, Jojo Rabbit has a lot of it. I could go on and on about all the different intricacies of why I love the movie from a film point of view, from an ideological point of view, but all I'm gonna say is that if you're kind of reserved about the Nazi issue, if the premise kind of turns you off, I promise you that if you get the chance to see it, you won't be disappointed if it's streaming on Netflix, some other streaming service. It was also re-released back in theaters a few weeks ago, and it's still in because the Oscars are this Sunday. So if you get the chance to see it, I highly recommend it. This is one movie I'd recommend to everyone. You can follow the film on Twitter at Jojo Rabbit. If you liked this review, let me know what you thought. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you're not. I always appreciate every single subscriber. This is something different I've never done for the channel. So throw this a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll do more for, again, only movies that I think are worth reviewing because I'm not a review channel. But if you're still with us through this point of the review, thank you for watching. It really means a lot. And yeah, that's my case for why Jojo Rabbit needs more attention.